Story number 1. Woman confuses me for employee, gets locked out of the store leaving her groceries behind. So last night I'm finishing up my shift as an EMT and it's been a long and tiring one. The calls weren't bad, but there were a lot of them and we were all over the damn county. Shift is over, I change back into my comfy clothes, sweats, t-shirt, hoodie, and I head to the store to get something for dinner. I get there just in time since they're closing in 10 minutes. I assure the cashier that I was just grabbing something quick and I go and pick up a lasagna from the frozen section. I grab them and turn to head to the checkout when I hear ahem. Not a throat-clearing sound, but someone saying it like they were reading it out loud. Turn and look to see a woman and she snaps off I need you to go in the back and get me a pack of the frozen pretzels. I say that I don't work here and point out where an employee just went behind an end cap. Woman snaps, you do work here and you need to stop being lazy and get me my pretzels. I again say, I don't work here and turn to walk to the self-check. She flips her shit and storms off muttering about lazy employees and managers. I finish checking out and I'm grabbing my stuff and leaving when I see her again with her cart and a manager and she yells, there she is. That's the lazy bitch, and starts towards me. I'm not even going to engage and so I hold up my receipt and my one item to the self-check girl and walk out. I hear the manager raising his voice and saying, ma'am. Ma'am. Turns out she left her cart behind and stormed out of the store to confront me. I get in my car to drive off but she's standing in front of it so I can't go anywhere. She's also giving me a tongue lashing that I'm too checked out to really pay attention to. Great, I'm already on my last nerve and this woman is hate fucking it. Manager sticks his head out of the door and hollers, ma'am. She turns and makes a hushing motion towards him. He hollers, ma'am, one more time and she hollers back saying, I'm dealing with your employee since you're too much of a little bitch to do it yourself. He bristles and says, madam. She cuts him off with, shut the fuck up, screeched at the top of her lungs. He shrugs and I watch him go back inside, fiddle with the locks, flip the sign to closed and pull down the shades. As I'm watching this she gets annoyed that I'm not paying her my full attention and she yells, what the hell are you looking that's so damned important to ignore me? I just pointed at the shop and say, they just closed and locked the doors. I'm not sure what she screamed since it was pretty incoherent but she did run towards the door. Seeing my chance, I drove off leaving her pounding on the door and cursing. Story number 2. How I put a crack in my cold dead heart. Yesterday I went to the arts and crafts store in search of picture frames. While I search for a pre-cut natural white mat board in my desired size because the store was grotesquely understaffed and there was a line at the framing counter. I hear a woman ask another for assistance. She was wearing a shirt that matches the employee smocks. The reply was quick and almost rude, I don't work here. And the woman grabbed her cart and walked away. I don't know why this attracted my attention, maybe it was the desperation in the asker's voice, maybe it was store acoustics and funneled their voices to me, I really don't know. The woman who was looking for help stands for a moment before she uses a seeing-impaired cane to walk towards me and the main aisle. Me, I don't work here but can I try to help you? She gives a huge sigh, smiles, I need help finding yarn, I'm making a baby blanket and the colors needed are white or cream, yellow, pink and blue. And I can't see enough to pick them out. Me, well I can definitely help you with that. Her, can you lend an arm? It's crowded here and I walk faster with a person leading. I laugh. Well, speed isn't on my menu, I have a walking boot and crutches, if you want I can lead and you can follow, I unfortunately don't have an open arm. She apologizes and mentions she'll find an employee and I insist it's not a problem and I've only seen one employee and they're at the framing counter with a line of people. We figured out all the logistics as we get to the yarn we share names and I learned she had her vision until a pair of hands and a foot ago, and that her husband dropped her off while he went to the hardware store. We get to the yarns and start by finding what feel of yarn she wanted and then I start describing the colors, barely pink, light salmon, cotton candy pink to banana skin yellow, and banana flesh yellow, and this is almost a orange pink. I was told I was describing the colors well and gathered the bundles. We finished our shopping together and even checked out one after the other, and she insisted on buying me a chocolate bar as a thank you. Total grandma move there, right? Mama Sisha, I hope your great-grandbaby's blanket turns out wonderfully soft and as loving and sweet as you. Story number 3. Yeah, he's my husband. So my husband and I are in an interracial relationship, which is not extremely common in our country due to our history, but there are more and more interracial couples out there each day. For context, due to cultural history in our country, some people are more inclined to accept same-sex relationships over interracial. No one makes a public deal about same-sex relationships, but there are instances of interracial relationships between popular figures that are heavily criticized by people. Anyway, so my husband and I are walking by my favorite stationery store. And I'm like a kid in a candy store, walking down every single aisle and pointing out things I want to buy, explaining why, and just generally sharing with my husband, who is walking a step back from me with the trolley, just lazily following me down each aisle, patiently listening to what I have to say, because he's amazing, lol. He then got distracted down one of the aisles with some gadget, and I just continued down the next aisle when this lady starts following behind, and I kind of just ignored her. Maybe it's not relevant, but she's the same race as my husband. So she walks up to me eventually, and I start walking back to find my husband, and she starts rambling off without a hitch about how she's looking for this specific item, and when she's done, I just look at her and go, "Sorry, I don't work here," and she goes all red in the face and says, "Well, I saw you helping that gentleman and you look like you know what you're doing, so I thought you worked here," and I go, "Well, yeah, he's my husband," and shocked and clearly embarrassed, she just looked at me, mumbled sorry, and walked away. Meanwhile, my hubby heard the whole thing and is laughing his ass off at the whole thing. Edit, wow. I did not realize that so many people would latch on to the race thing in the way they did. Firstly, let me clarify by saying that yes, I am from South Africa, as some of you guessed. Second, it is a big deal being in an interracial relationship in our country. For the one commenter calling me a racist for assuming, I don't care what you think, because you clearly have no idea what it's like being in an interracial relationship in a country, and more specifically a city, where people think it's wrong. Like seriously, we get heavily criticized, and we've even been asked, why can't my husband find a nice young girl that's his race? It isn't presumptuous of me to assume it was based on my skin color, because it happens all the damn time when people of my husband's race walk to him and immediately start speaking in a language that he does not understand, and I stand aside laughing my off because I'm fluent in that language, but because of my skin color there's an unconscious bias. It's a thing in our country. Story number 4. Walking a lady around work after I clock out. So this happened a little bit ago. I was working at Walmart during the evening shift, 1 to 10 p.m. shift. I've seen a lot of crap while I worked there. When you work there, the people of Walmart honestly become ingrained in your memory. So this one night I clock out and am shopping around a bit before I go home, still wearing my vest, but wearing a coat over it. It's when I see this really gentle old lady who is walking around. She sees that I'm wearing my vest and asks me in a very polite yet delightfully southern sassy way, "Excuse me, young man, can you help me find the hairspray?" Now I didn't work the floor, but work anywhere long enough and you'll know where a fair bit of stuff is. I decided that I can spare a few minutes and tell her, of course, it's over in pharmacy, I can show you if you'd like. She took me up on the offer and I helped her find the hairspray. As we talked, she was a hoot. She was telling me about how she was a retired police officer back in the day and how she was riding with a local biker club. I know them, they are super nice people with a lot of older people. I help her find a handful of other things as we just talk. She told me about her late husband, who was always the best little crap to her, and that she still loves him and can't wait to meet him after. She was really happy talking about him. She also told me about her daughter's wedding the week before and how she's going to have a nephew soon. After a bit of the amazing conversation, she says that she was going to check out and thanked me repeatedly, and I told her how I was happy to help and was going home myself. She looked a bit embarrassed that I was actually clocked out, but I shot that down with being really happy to just talk with her and thanked her for keeping me company. I know it's not like the other stories of self-entitled rude people, but it was a really nice and I wanted to share. Story number 5. I do work for the company. This supermarket isn't under the company though. Long-time lurker even before joining Reddit, have always wanted to post this on here. For the record, country is situated in Singapore. We are predominantly Asian mixed with other races of color. We do have Caucasians/Saudi/people from Africa etc., but they'll usually be in the city/town/CBD area. I do hope this doesn't come off as rude or offensive because I'm not sure how to describe the country lol. Also would like to apologize if my English is weird. Although I take it as my first language, I still get nervous speaking or typing it anywhere that has others who already has it naturally as their first language. This happened about a year ago, 2 months before I left the company. One known fact about this company is that it's the main headquarters of a certain mailing company and is also basically a shopping mall by itself, the whole building split into shopping mall at the front and office at the back. So during my 1-hour break, I went to the basement level to get to the supermarket, called NTUC, to get my microwavable food, some plastic plates, spoon and forks. As I worked my way through the aisle looking for some instant noodles because why not, I heard an almost gruffy voice asking me that he needed help. I looked up, obviously very confused, and noticed it was a Caucasian man. I looked left and right, saw another person there who looked equally as confused before I asked in a very meek voice, "Yes sir?" "Ah yes, I was wondering if you could help me find an item?" He asked again, while furrowing, his eyebrows at me. I blinked once. Twice. Then finally cocked my head to the side. "I'm sorry, but I don't work here." "But you're wearing the uniform." He shot back and I looked at my work uniform, a purple, checkered button-up shirt, then back up at him, and he continued, "You work for, company name dash dot." I let out a short laugh and immediately understood his confusion. "Oh, you must not be around here." "I work for, company name dash, yes. However, this is also a mall. And the supermarket we're in is of a different company. This here is NTUC, you might want to look for the ones in the blue uniform. I work in the general post office, not here. Different company you see. I hope you get what you're looking for, have a nice one." I left immediately since I've now spent nearly 15 minutes in the supermarket and it was eating away at my lunch hour, so I didn't get to see his reaction other than a, "Wait." Sorry, it's not as dramatic as all the other stories, but it's common knowledge that the company itself, although a single building, has a split function, it being a mall at the front and office at the back. Common knowledge, unless you're a tourist or someone who's just arrived to work in the country itself. I hope everyone else has a great day. TLDR, company building has 2 functions, a mall and office. Went to the local supermarket to get my lunch and utensils, got mistaken as someone who works there and told the customer which uniform to actually look out for and how the building works.